Good morning, everybody. You are going to need a notebook today. So, ideally, your first notebook. You don't have your drawing notebook, any notebook will do. We'll come to the next clean page, and you're going to write up the top coiled vessel notes. There'll be some new vocab and some sketching that you're going to do today. Are you finished?
Picture that makes a video. 3 points. There we go. Yeah. Using your Google. The Google. We need a smell before that. Funkier than a mosquito's feeder. Get a combo of mosquitoes, bugs, robots this morning. Thanks for all your suggestions. I thought we're going to participate. Great. Pretty here at St. Paul, but I don't know if it's going to last. 50% chance of showers this year. High in the mid 70s. Honestly, a chance of
Good morning. How are we doing today?
She's ready to rock.
Good. Good. Last few minutes of seeing the sun. It sounds like it's going to rain the rest of the week. So we got that to look forward to. I'm going to take attendance really quick. If you haven't got a notebook out yet, get one now. There will be notes and sketching today. We've got Lauren, Grace, Ruth, Stephen, Franklin, William, London, Nyla. I saw that we got Kalita, we got Bryn, we got Lauren, we got Paul, Abigail, Matt, Lily, Abby, Allison, Caitlin, Val, Saeed, and Jamie. So today is the day that we're starting our next project, and the next project is a coiled vessel. No, you're not going to get to use a 3D printer, but a 3D printer works very much in the same way as coiling with clay. And so, so you can kind of think of yourself as an old school 3D printer as you are rolling and stacking coils on this new project. So I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of the project in just a little bit, but I know I've been confused about the end of the year, what's going to happen that last week, and so I wanted to go over what I have found out about the end of the school year, just so you know what's happening. Because if I was confused, my guess is you were also confused. So this week we are doing the Coiled Vessel project. It'll spill over into next week because it's kind of a lengthy project. It's not a difficult project, but it'll take some time. And then you'll start a small free choice project that can be whatever you want next week, but it'll have to be small because we don't have a lot of time. Then, so that's this week and next week. And whatever that was can get picked up, please. Then the week of finals, here's what's happening. Nobody has school on Monday because it's Memorial Day. Tuesday is everybody's in person, but it's seniors' last day in person. And so seniors, you're going to do your final that day. You should have all projects done at that point. So seniors are going to do some cleaning, and that's your final, is like helping participate in cleaning the room or tools or whatever. And then also seniors, you can use your time to glaze that day as well. Everybody else will have a glazing day that day. Wednesday, seniors will be back, but not for classes, for cap and gown distribution. Everybody else, 9th through 11th graders, you're having normal class that Wednesday. And that's the day that you're going to be continuing to glaze, and that's the day that most of you will be doing your final, which again is cleaning, getting everything packed up for the summer. Then this is the part I was confused about. That Thursday and Friday, so June 3rd and June 4th, those are flex days, which means that there's no in-person school those last 2 days of school. And so that's weird. And I was thinking to myself, what the heck am I going to do with students at home for the last 2 weeks of the trimester? And so my answer was nothing. I'm not going to have any Google Meets those last 2 days. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the all day, both days, for anybody who wants to come in and do final glazing, or for anybody who wants to come and pick up their work that has been glazed. So there's nothing structured for second hour for my class for those last 2 days. Your first hour teacher might expect you to be on a Google Meet those days. Your third hour teacher might have some expectations for you. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're here the day of your final and you get all your points for your final and you have all your projects done, I don't think we need to do anything those last 2 days other than have it be a day for people to just glaze if they want to glaze or pick up their work if they need to pick up work. So that's kind of the game plan at this point. Any questions on what's happening these next 3 weeks?
Why is the Thursday and Friday selected?
It's a really good question. I don't honestly know. I think they thought it would make life easier for teachers or for students. Or I don't know. Like your summer starts 2 days earlier than you thought.
For catch up for anyone who's behind.
Oh, see, that makes sense. Yeah, it's 2 days where if people are missing work, then they can work on that.
And then it gives teachers a little leeway with the grading as well, I think.
That's true. Yep, so we can catch up and really be thorough about grading. Yeah. Thank you.
Some people practice
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really valid points. Any other questions about how things are ending up for the next 3 weeks? Okay, great. So let's jump into our new project, the Coiled Vessel project. There are 5 new terms. Please jot these down in your notebook in front of you. Give you a couple minutes to do that. People at home, you should also be jotting, writing down vocab. Bless you. All right, so these 5 terms for today, some are new, some are maybe not so very new, some you probably know from science class, but we're going to talk about how they relate to what we're doing here. So coil building is the technique you're going to be using for the next several days. It's building a hollow pot by rolling and stacking ropes of clay. That's putting it very simply, but it's essentially what you're doing. You're rolling snakes of clay, ropes of clay, scoring, slipping, and melding them on top of each other to create something that is hollow and has some height to it. You're making a form, a 3-dimensional shape. That should be a word that we've talked about already. But to make that shape, you're creating or you're thinking about plane. Planes are flat, two-dimensional kind of directions or surfaces. And the way we're going to talk about plane for this project is in terms of convex planes and concave planes. So a convex plane, just like a convex lens in science class, is a plane that bulges outward. Like on this face right here, this fat little belly right here, that's convex. It bulges outward, it gives you more volume, you can fit more water in there. If it's a coffee cup, if it has a nice bulging convex body, it means you can fit more coffee inside there, or more hot cocoa inside there. So the form that you're going to make is going to have some sort of bulging outward, some sort of convex plane where it bulges out and comes outward. You're also going to have some sort of use of concave planes. And just like in science class, like a concave lens, a concave plane slopes inward and causes the cup to get more narrow. So on this face, this neck is concave. It slopes inward like a cave goes into a mountain, that's all over it. It slopes inward, so on a vase, it brings the stems of the flowers all together so that they form a nice little bouquet up at the top. So on this pot right here, there's convex and concave, and convex again up here at the top. So it makes a more complicated and more interesting form. And so that's what you're really going to be proving to me that you can do in this project. You're going to be stacking these coils of clay to create a form that has convex and concave planes, that bulges out and slopes in some way. And so a few things to know about that. So somebody somewhere, some anthropologist back, however long ago, decided that the parts of the pot should be named after the parts of the human body. So if you look at this Greek vase right here, the part that bulges out at the bottom is the foot, which that's a term that you know. Then it kind of goes in a little bit. Then it bulges out and forms the body or the belly, just like on us, like some of us, the biggest part of our bodies is our belly. Then it slopes inward and it has a shoulder. The handle is not named after a part of the body, obviously. But the narrowest upper part is called the neck, just like we have necks. And then the opening at the top is called the lip. And then actually the rim is called the lip and the opening is called the mouth. So that's not anything that you have to necessarily write down or sketch in your notebook, but it is interesting to note that the parts of the pot are named after parts of the human body. So if I'm walking around and I say to you, oh, your lip is kind of uneven, or oh, that belly is kind of not really the same on all sides, you'll know like what that terminology means. Now, when it comes to using your planes and kind of deciding how you want your form to come in and out, you want to kind of think about how you want those planes to go, what's going to bulge out, what's going to come in. So that vase that I just showed you on the previous slide has a really dynamic form. It slopes out really dramatically, it goes in really dramatically, and that can be kind of challenging to do. Like you are going to be controlling your coils, building them on top of each other, building them outwardly to make your pocket wider, building them inwardly to make your pocket narrower. And this can be done. Coiling is very versatile. It can give you virtually any shape that you want. You also might decide that you want to make something that's a little bit more quiet, a more simple form, like these mugs here. They also go out and then back in and then back out again, but it's much more gentle. So it doesn't matter to me whether you have really dramatic convex and concave or if it's more gentle convex and concave. That's really up to you. As long as you can show me you can do it. What I don't want to see is that your walls are like this, straight up and down, because then you're not showing me any convex or concave. You're not showing me you can control the outward or the inward growth of your project. So the way that we're going to make this is we are going to be rolling ropes of clay, and you'll see that in the demo. We're going to be stacking those coils on top of each other, scoring and slipping and melding as we go. You can see here this person has built the form to quietly, slowly, subtly get wider, and then it's slowly, subtly getting narrower up at the top. And then we're going to meld. We're going to meld everything. So in the end, you're not actually going to see the coils because everything is going to be smooth. So here are some examples of vases that you might make. You have the option for this project to, well, I'll get to that actually in the next slide. So this is kind of a finished coiled vessel. It has little handles on the side, so it could be hung up like a hanging water jug. And when you take a look at it, there's not really any evidence that it was made using coils because everything has been smoothed really nicely. Okay, so these are the requirements. And this I would like you to write down, please, underneath where you drew that vocab. So put a line under your vocab, and then please write these 4 requirements so they're really clear in your mind. So for this project, you're either going to make one vase or pitcher Pitcher would be like a Kool-Aid pitcher or a lemonade pitcher. Either one of those, and it needs to be between 8 to 10 inches tall. People at home, this is for you too. Or, if you'd rather, you could make 2 coiled mugs. And you would have 2 mugs, one for you, one for your family, or one for you, one for your friend. And if you do mugs, then they can be shorter because you're doing 2 of them. So 4 to 5 inches tall. And I will hold you to that. In the video that you film at the end of this project, you will have to hold a ruler up to your project so I can see that it's either 8 to 10 inches tall if it's a vase or a pitcher, or it's 4 to 5 inches tall if they are mugs. Large project or 2 smalls. The whole thing is going to be built by scoring, slipping, and melding coils. That's what SSM means, score, slip, and meld. The coils will be smooth on the inside and the outside. This is to give it more kind of a clean look to it. Also, it'll be more watertight if we make sure that we've melded everything. Also, we're going to be doing some decoration on the surface of this pot that requires a smooth surface. So we're melding everything. The form, whether it's mugs or a vase or a pitcher, it needs to have some sort of convex and concave movement in the use of planes. That means the form needs to either go out a little bit, in a little bit, some combination of the two. And it must have handles. So you are going to be creating something. If it's a mug, it needs a handle. If it's a vase, you can do a little decorative handle that wouldn't be something that would be functional. If it's a pitcher, like here's a example of a pitcher. So if it's a pitcher, you need a handle to be able to pick it up and pour out of it. So you're going to be designing and adding handles once you've built the whole thing. So those are the things that I want to make sure that you're thinking about as you're sketching today and as you're designing your ideas for what you want to make. I am going to ask that you sketch maybe a couple ideas. Let's say 2 to 3 ideas, different ideas that you could do for this project. If you know you want to make a vase, then maybe 2 or 3 vase sketches. If you know you want to make mugs, then give me 2 to 3 mug sketches. And that's part of what your points will be today. People at home, same. You're going to be showing me your sketches in your daily photo today. So let's look at some ideas just to kind of get the juices flowing. Here are some vases. And you can always tell a vase because it's got a big belly to hold a lot of water. It's got a shoulder and then a narrow neck to bring the flowers together. And then it's got a lip that flares out at the top to bring the heads of the flowers out in a nice bouquet. So traditional vase shape. And you can see the different ways that the artists have used handles. Some of those handles are functional. Some of them are more decorative. So if you want to do fancy handles that you would never ever use, that's totally fine. Here we have some pitchers. Pitchers always have a spout on one side and then a handle on the opposite side. So you pick up the pitcher and you pour out that little spout. Here we have some mugs. A mug obviously is meant to hold a hot beverage. That's why there's a handle on it, so you don't burn your hand by actually touching the cup part. You touch the handle part and it's not so hot. And so if you're designing a mug, awesome, that's great. Remember, you're making 2 of them. And it will have to have some sort of outward or inward lean to it. So it has convex and concave requirements met. The 2 mugs that you make do not have to match. You can make them match if you want. They can be a matched set, but they would not have to be. Here we have a few other mugs. And actually the ones on the left are more of a teacup kind of shape, more open at the top. If you want to make teacups, that's fine too. So here is your assignment for today. And this is where I'm going to freeze it up on the screen. And I'm going to demo over on table 9. So everybody come on over to table 9. And Caitlin, would you flip on the lights before you come over, please? Hi. All right. So you're actually not going to have a ton of clay work today. Very minimal what I'm going to ask you to do with clay. But what will be really important that you accomplish today is your planning sketches. So beneath where you did your notes today, beneath where you wrote the requirements today, just sketch out 2 to 3 ideas. And I did 1 vase and then 2 mugs, and my mugs are kind of more or less the same. So I guess I technically only did 2 sketches. But plan out your ideas, and then people at home, this will be part of what you include in your photo for today. You'll have your clay piece that you start, and then your sketches next to it. People who are here in person, I'm gonna have you do it in a slightly different way, but I'll get to that. So I think I'm gonna make mugs. I think that sounds more interesting to me. So I'm gonna start with one of my mugs today. And make sure I'm following my notes here. Sketches, okay. So now that I have my idea and I know what I wanna do, all I need for today is a relatively small amount of clay. And I'm gonna make the base today. And the base is the only part that's not made out of coils. So I'm gonna start by flattening out that piece of clay. I'm gonna use the throwing technique, throwing it diagonally on my wedging tray to flatten it out. I'm always having a different side facing forward, flattening it out to be about 1/4 of an inch thick. Then I need to find something that is a circle. Here we go. This is a circle. So I'm going to put that circular shape on my slab. I'm going to use a needle tool, and I'm going to cut this at a 45-degree angle. Okay, this doesn't say that up on the steps up there, but I'm going to show you how to do it, and I'm talking about it. So I'm going to cut at a 45-degree angle. So my needle tool, or toothpick, you can use a toothpick too. My needle tool is pointed inward at a 45-degree angle. The reason you're doing this is going to become the bottom of your vase. And we want the bottom of your vase to be more narrow. So on this picture right here, there's a very narrow base, and then the form kind of grows out from there. If you have a really narrow base, it makes it look more light. So by cutting this bottom part at that angle, I don't know if you can see that. See how it angles in? It just gives you a good start right off the bat. It's going to look light. So then right away, I'm going to keep that clay out. Right away, put it on your tray with the narrower side down. And then you need to make at least one coil today and get that on your base. If you want to go further and make more coils, go for it. But one is the minimum for today. So I just took my extra clay that I cut away from my base, and I always start a coil in the air. I kind of roll it to be a fat coil, and then I transfer it to my table. And I start in the center and I roll out. That's what stretches the clay platelets to make them longer and stronger. And almost immediately it turns into an oval shape. So I'm just going to stop my coiling, press that ovalness out of it, and then continue to coil. So I want this to be about the thickness of my index finger, okay, which might seem kind of thick, but I'll show you in a moment why you want it to be that thick. So I'm always starting in the center. I'm using my palms, not my fingers, because my palms are flatter than my fingers. So you want to use your palms to roll these coils. And now I'm just looking for the thick spots. So I'm just kind of rolling out those thick spots. And you can see how long that actually became. Like, that's a really long coil. That could give me probably 3 layers. So got my slip handy. I've got my fork. It is going to be important that with every single coil, you score and slip. So they're really joined well. And so we're working smarter, not harder. You're going to dip your fork in the slip and score and slip in one motion. So scoring and slipping down the length of my coil. This is obviously way longer than I need it to be. So I'm just going to place the scored and slipped areas on top of each other and then just cut off whatever is extra so that they meet up. Okay, so I scored and slipped. Now I need to meld. So people at home, you have popsicle sticks. People who are here, you have wood knives. It's so thick because you're going to lose half that thickness when you're blending it down. So I'm going to support the outside, blend the inside. You can use your fingertip to do this too. I just feel like a tool does it a little bit more firmly. And then same thing on the outside. Support the inner bit and then meld the outer bit. Meld that coil to its base so that everything is seamless. Okay, and I'm just going to use my fingers to do a little bit more thorough melding. And actually, I'm going to use my fingers now to pinch this upward a little bit so I get a little bit more height out of this coil. That's another bonus of making your coil the thickness of your index finger, is you have enough thickness there to kind of pinch it, like you're coiling and pinching, coiling and pinching. So this is just the first layer. Since I have more coil here, let me just kind of move on and show you the next layer because I want my mug to get wider.
I'm gonna put my next coil slightly to the outside. This is already scored and slipped. Slightly to the outside of my previous layer. And you can see it wasn't quite long enough, and that's okay. You just roll some additional coil, patch it in, meld it, no one will know. Except that was kind of thin right there. Let's bulk that up a little bit. Okay, and now I have to meld that right away. If you hold off and do all your melding at the end, your coils are gonna dry out really quick. So say you're like wanting to be really efficient and you make like 10 coils, and then you decide to start putting them in place, they're gonna start drying out. Coils dry out really, really fast. So just make a coil, score and slip it, meld it. Make your next coil, score and slip it, meld it. Don't try and work ahead of yourself, or don't try and like get a lot of something done and then come back later to meld, because it'll be too dry. And in fact, as you're making your coils, if your clay gets kind of dry, it's a good idea to have a sponge handy, because then as you're rolling that coil, if it starts to crack, just run that sponge up and down that cracked coil, and that will help fill in any cracks. And it'll also help hydrate the clay and make it more pliable. Okay, so I just scored and slept this next coil, and I'm gonna do a little gentle pinching. Not a lot, I don't wanna pinch it to be too thin or too weak, but I just wanna give it a little bit more of a belly, so it starts to grow outward a little bit more. Blending in my seams where the two coils came together, using my thumbs to kind of meld everything. So there's the start of my mug. Nothing much to look at yet, it's not too pretty yet, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the whole thing built, then we're gonna make it look pretty. And I'll talk more about that as we get further on. So for your points today, people at home, you're gonna take a photo that looks something like this. Sketches next to your coiled thing, bag it up and keep it like that till tomorrow. People who are here in person, I'm gonna ask that you show me your sketches, like come up to me and I will mark off your points on your sketches, and that'll be how you'll get your 20 points today instead of taking a photo. So you guys will not have to submit a photo today. Just show me your sketches. All right, people who are here in person, any questions on what you're doing? No? Okay. You guys can finish older work. If you need to finish like your leaf bowl, that should be your priority. I would prioritize sketches next. And then once you've shown me your sketches and gotten your points, if you want to glaze, then you can glaze, okay? All right, people at home, stay on the line. If you want to look up ideas online, like go on Pinterest or use Google to get ideas for your sketches, go for it. That's totally fun. Attendance. All right. Hi, everybody. Whew, mask off. I'm going to stop recording.